There was this girl. Coincidentally, Abinader was in Columbia University, and this girl, she did this. There was this like Q&A, and this girl asked her this question, and I'm so happy she did this, and she called him out because like there was like a I think someone made a joke against Abinader because of the Canal and because of his racist comments. He's like super, yeah. And that person, he was like detained because he disrespected the president. Disrespecting the president is not illegal in the Dominican Republic. So I wish Dominicans would realize that this hate against Haitians, this anti-Haitian racism, is also destroying us. Is also affecting us because we're letting this government literally break the few constitutional rights we have and the things we have achieved after two dictatorships, Balaguer dictatorship and Trujillo dictatorship, because of our racism. So I'm gonna play this right now. I'm gonna play this right now. In a second.
Hi. My question is, the Dominican Republic was established as the Dominican Republic after 300 years of colonial rule, which included the enslavement and massacre of imported African people. Like here, America, and other countries affected by colonialism, the legacy of slavery still lives in its laws and practices. Homophobia and transphobia are racist European concepts enforced on enslaved Africans to increase the amount of African children to be enslaved for monetary benefit. Generational trauma from colonialism and slavery also created colorism that is hyper-present in the Dominican Republic. Colorism, as seen today in the maltreatment of Haitian people, especially pregnant Haitian people already in the DR, so not on the border, along with homophobic and transphobic laws and attitudes, are legacies from slavery. What are your plans to rid the Dominican Republic of the racist attitudes of homophobia, transphobia, and colorism?
Let me tell you, 85% of the Dominican people are mixed race. There has never been an issue of race, a real issue of race.
There is an issue of race in the Dominican
that's my
Republic
opinion.
today.
That's your opinion, and I am
It's
telling
not an opinion, it's something that a lot of people
but my opinion
a
is
lot of
that
people darker than you could tell you.
Yes.
I mean, this should be a respectful exchange of opinions. So please do
I
not.
would love it to be a respectful exchange.
Yes. So we have never had a problem, of race. In any society, you have a small area that you can have problems. You have it here in this country. You have it here in a lot of other countries, even in the most democratic. That is for any democratic country and that respect and fight for the rights of the people, that's unacceptable. What I am telling you, that's not a wide problem in the Dominican Republic because we are mixed race. Most 85% is a mixed race. We are also daughters or grandsons of immigrants. The situation with Haiti, I don't think that there is any other country in the world that has this amount of statistics about maternity hospital. Could you name just one country in the world that 35% of its maternity beds are occupied by other country people? Just mention one country. There is no one.
United States, I believe.
I don't think United States have 35% occupied by foreigners in the maternity hospital. So, and we are not a rich country. Do we charge anything? You know that we don't charge nothing
Women are being removed forcibly and are being hurt, and they're.
Well, that's your opinion, but that's not the real issue that we have there.
You can see the records from.
Well, that's not the real situation.
Yes, it is.
And we are having, well.
So I'm gonna give you my opinion about this exchange that you just listened to. Okay. There's two things he said. First of all, everything she said, I agree with 100%. Everything she said is right. I think she was very brave to ask that question and to call him out on his lie. And the reason why he was very like, he had a very soft demeanor is because he was in the US and he knew he couldn't get away with just like imprison her or because she's not Dominican. So she had that privilege that there's things that he can't just do against her. Now, so I want to talk about two things, three things that she said. First, what she said is 100% true. Everything she said is true. Second of all, the whole thing about mixed race in the Dominican Republic, there's no racial issues in the Dominican Republic, is a fucking lie. I'm not dark skinned, but I'm black. And I have experienced racism, and the comments about racism and colorism in the Dominican Republic are like everyday life. Like, I could show you right now on YouTube, like, comments that are so open about how racist comments, like in newspapers, in TV shows in the Dominican Republic. Like, that's true. Dominican Republic is a very racist country. Is the racism is different than in the United States? Yes, because we haven't had like apartheid or Jim Crow style laws, or that's true. But that doesn't mean there's not a racial hierarchy in the Dominican Republic. I did an episode in collaboration with Dominican historians and scholars where we talk about racism in the Dominican Republic from a historical perspective. The only problem is that the video is in Spanish, but I hope to do an English version as soon as possible. So people who don't speak Spanish, that they can understand it. So the whole mixed race thing is a myth. The Dominican Republic is very colorist. There's a hierarchy that you can see. People who are at the top tend to be lighter skin or white. There is white people in the Dominican Republic, and at the bottom they tend to be darker. Let's talk about the maternity hospitals things he said. Those numbers, I want to see them. And I want to see those numbers. Now, first of all, like, hospitals in the Dominican Republic are not that good. That's something I want to talk about. And anyone who has access to at least a medium decent job, they have private insurance and they go to private hospitals. In private hospitals, you're not going to see that many Haitians because, like, Haitians in the Dominican Republic, not all of them, but a lot of them, because of racism, discrimination, and all of these factors, they tend to be working class and they tend to be less financially stable and they go to public hospitals. And also, Dominicans of Haitian descent and Dominicans who are dark skinned. So that's another thing that's been happening lately, that people who are Dominicans are mistaken of being Haitians. That's been happening lately in the Dominican Republic. So this myth about hospitals, the problem with hospitals, it's true that the Dominican Republic is not a rich country, but the Dominican Republic, there's a lot of social inequality and a lot of exploitation. We have exploited Haitians. And let's forget about like human rights for a second. Like, let's pretend that like the Dominican government is doing it, like, oh, whatever. What about all of the economic contributions Haitians have done to Dominican society? As I mentioned before, sugarcane industry and the construction industry. Like, the construction industry in the Dominican Republic is huge. And you know what? This is supposed to be a Christian country. Isn't like one of the principles of Christianity to help the neighbor? But let's go back about human rights and the discussion about hospitals. This is like a huge, huge myth. And that's a huge myth that has been like fostered by the press to create this idea that Haitians are taking over our resources. The people who are taking over the Dominican resources are people like Abinader. Abinader is like a upper class businessman. He comes from an upper class family. He was born in like with a silver spoon in his mouth. He has never been to a Dominican hospital in his life. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's saying, oh, that's your opinion. That's not her opinion. She's telling you facts. And she wasn't being disrespectful. Of course, it's always the white women telling black women to stay quiet. I am not surprised about that part. The problem with Dominican hospitals is corruption, is the same way there's a problem in the Dominican Republic with a lot of resources is corruption. Dominican hospitals are severely underfunded, and the little fund that they get, a lot of it gets stolen. It's not Haitians the problem. And let me tell you something. This is something I'm gonna show you on YouTube. I'm gonna translate. They use a lot of the anti-Haitian rhetoric to hide the crimes they commit against people. 34 babies, 34 newborn babies died in a hospital in the Dominican Republic in a month. That's like a baby a day. That's like a baby a day. That's like a baby a day in a hospital, newborn babies. 34 Dominican newborn babies died in a Dominican maternity public hospital in a month. In a month. The abuses that happen in Dominican hospitals, the neglect, and all of the horrible things that are happening in Dominican hospitals, and the state of Dominican healthcare is not Haitians' fault. And the Haitian government, sorry, the Dominican government is using Haiti and racism as a scapegoat. I want to end my talk and I want to end this episode and I want to end this broadcast with what can we do? What can we do is, and this is my suggestion, I'm Dominican, so I think we should speak up, we should educate ourselves, and we need to, when we talk about these things, we need to come up with facts. And we need to be honest about this. Haiti is not our enemy. Racism and colonialism is the enemy, and capitalism is the enemy of the Dominican people. And this is not only for Dominicans, because it's in English. Maybe most Dominicans are not going to understand. And I'm just going to finish with this, right? We will never have a free Caribbean if we keep upholding white supremacist and colonial structures in our countries. We will never have a free Caribbean with bigotry, sexism, racism, homophobia, and transphobia. And I hope that student who bravely spoke to Abinader, I hope that she listens to this. I hope that she sees this episode. I hope that she knows that there's people who agrees with her. There's people who are glad that she brought that up. There's people who did that. So I hope this gets to her. I know she's getting a lot of hate and harassment in social media. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this episode in English. I know she's getting a lot of hate and a lot of harassment. And he didn't educate her. A lot of things he said was completely lies. Like she literally like shut him down. So, Lizzy George Griffin, I hope you're listening this, and I totally support you. And I was very brave what you did. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna upload this today as soon as possible. I'm not gonna edit it. I'm not gonna clip it together or anything like that. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm recording this now because I don't have time later on. Bye. Thank you.